Hi girls, this is Zeffy from I'm Zeffy and I Love to Scrap. Today I want to share with you a project that I was working on this past December. It was my journal Your Christmas. It's the second time I'm doing it with Shimelle Lane. This year I went off the track completely. Life happened and this is how my journal turned out. Shimelle, thanks for your prompts. I read them every day, but I was so preoccupied with what was going on in my life that only towards the end did I maybe do one or two of the prompts, but I loved it anyway. Anyway, this album I had started 2 years ago at PAX. In 2010 I had a lesson with Flo, and this was a beautiful kit, and I had done the pages, the front and back page, and I had stuck this chipboard on, and I had bound the last 2 pages. Okay, but this was just a disaster. The binding kept on falling off, and I'll tell you more about that as we get into the book. The other thing is, I wanted to use this because it was in the cupboard for 2 years. I knew I never had a lot of embellishments, so I decided I'll just take out my stamps and make my own embellishments. Snowman, I colored lace, I embossed little Christmas trees, I made hearts, I made snowflakes, I embossed and inked a foil, and I did various things. I decided that my dates would be tags with cardstock numbers. This was from an old shoebox of my grandson's, and I used my wordplay die by Atilolou, this one here, for the numbers. Okay, but I thought I had everything in control and everything organized, and I was ready to start my journal on the 1st, but the night before, on the 30th, my dad passed away, so my journal took on a whole new dimension. So the first, I just wrote about family, I wrote about my dad, and my siblings in South Africa were busy organizing the funeral and stuff, so we had lots of emails coming and going, and they were organizing a little pamphlet to give at the church, and so I was seeing how things were progressing, and so on the 1st and 2nd I decided I'll just use the stuff from that. So I printed that, and then what I did is I just enlarged some of the photos and wrote about them so that my children and my grandchildren can read and know who the guys are in the photos. The same here. That's us on a family holiday years ago. You can see the embossed foil paper over there with a little embossed stamp. Okay, because I only had 6 pages, I needed to do a lot of flaps and stuff so that I could have some more space. There's 3 big square pages in the album that were a big story, because these pages are exactly the same width as the front page. So I subsequently afterwards needed to trim them all down. Anyway, on these big square pages I added a big flap with some white paper. Okay, so that's the 8th. The 9th I was at a crop with all my friends. These are wishes from all my friends. I made a little book over here. Lots of the photos are taken with a cell phone because I was so preoccupied that I never had time for photos, and lots come off Facebook as well, so do be careful. I think at this point I want to just show you how this book was meant to be and how it turned out. I've done this video 3 times already. It always gets too long, so I'm trying to talk really fast. As you can see here, this is one of the pages. It's like a little die cut, and this is canvas, and so all the edges of the book are canvas. So this is where the cardstock ends, and then this little bit is like the little tail of the page that was meant to stick onto the spine. and I had put them down, and the first 2 pages I machined down, but then my needle was getting very full of glue, so I left it, which is just as well because it would have torn the spine had I progressed. So because the pages are cardstock, the book becomes quite high. So the moment you turn a page, there's nowhere for the page to go, and so it popped off the spine. So I thought, oh, don't worry, I'll just make all the pages, and at the end I'll sort out the binding. So I think it was the second. I thought, okay, let me do this. It was after a late night and what have you, so I got this brainwave and I thought, okay, I'll put all the pages on one of Tim Holz's binding rings, not thinking that the binding ring adds another 2 centimeters to the length of your page. So I made holes, I put eyelets, stuck it in, closed the book, and I was horrified. The pages were all gaping out of my book. So I ripped it all off, and I had actually put hot glue on this so that it's not wonky, because these little brads are really small, so they don't hold this so well. And then I knew that I needed to use a concertina binding method. I had originally thought of the concertina binding method, but then I just didn't do it. I was too lazy. So I did the concertina binding method, and then you have this gap that gives you space. So I put all the stuff on, and then of course I had holes in my pages, so I added some brads that I covered over here with the blue tape. And then the blue tape is stuck onto the brown board and onto the canvas, so it adds a little bit of strength, a bit more strength to the page. Okay, so that's exactly how I bound the book. The little bird over here, this on the 16th was my grandson's birthday, and this little bird comes from a paper bag that I bought him some children's books. So I just decorated that. So it says 16th December, first one today. That heart is just chipboard again. So just have quite a lot of photos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 photos in this little space. And then the next week was like a blur because we were running around to lawyers and banks and stuff, so I didn't take any photos. 17, 18, 19 and 20 are all in here. 21st, my brother went back home, and that's us. A sandwich that we had that morning at brunch. The 22nd, about the 20th, I decided I'll decorate a little bit. So I didn't take out my tree, I just took out my manger and some angels and stuff, so everything was very low key. 23rd, these photos were taken with a cell phone as well. You can see how I trimmed my page right down to the edge of this because all the pages were finished, so I needed to trim it, and it was really difficult to trim the pages with all this bulkiness. That over here is a little tree that I made. Let me show you. The Christmas tree is just chipboard with stickles and some twine. The little notice board is a free printable from CSI. The little presents are stamps, a stamped image that are stamped and colored. The tape over here, my daughter had stamped onto some tape. So that's the 23rd. The 24th again is on a square piece of chipboard. It has the flap. The little decorations are just stamps that have been embossed with silver embossing powder and glimmer misted with Lindy's Stamp Gang. Glimmer mist, and then this opens up like this. At the bottom there you get have some embossed foil tape again. Opens, there's photos, there's a bit of coordinations paper that's been lightly sanded and glimmer misted. that's the 24th. And the Father Christmas, just quickly tell you about the Father Christmas over here, is also a stamp that's been colored, and then the back of this chipboard has just been painted, masked, mist, and then the little stars have been decoupaged on top. Okay, and just the velum over here is just to protect this photo from the stickles on this Christmas tree, because it was scratching there. And I had just stamped with archival on here. There were snowflakes, and they seem to have bled a bit, so there isn't so much detail anymore. All the archival got absorbed into the velum paper, because I think archival has got oil in it, so it's absorbed. Anyway, girls, I'm cutting this short, so I'll continue with the rest of the book in part